Let's talk about, so you made your first video. What was your first video about? Was it about the thing that you had written the book about, or the existence of God?
It was one of the arguments in the book, which is an argument for God from math. So
Oh,
I probably started off in the most nerdy way possible. It's a very abstract kind of argument. Yep, first video, argument for God from math, and then a lot of the following ones were out of the book too, just basically arguments for God.
okay. And what kind of people could you tell were sort of picking up on it, and what kind of feedback did you get?
I got so and when I started, I had a small sort of platform, maybe a bit. I'd written a few books and I had a
Oh,
few
okay.
people on Twitter who were following me. So when I started, I kind of had some people who maybe like I think that first video probably had a lot of people who maybe watched it because I put it out on Twitter because I announced I'm starting a
Okay.
YouTube channel. So I
Yeah.
started with a little bit of that. And
Okay.
so the initial reaction like that was just probably more positive because it was a bunch of friends. It was, people who already knew me for the
Okay.
most part. And then the evolution in it was, I remember like one of the YouTubers, I really like Austin Suggs, who runs the channel Gospel Simplicity. I've just done a ton of stuff with him, and I just find him a nice guy. And he had me on early on, and he's one who's also involved. He interviews a lot of Roman Catholic apologists, Eastern Orthodox Christians, Protestants, and so I remember that conversation as being one when I was probably still under like 1,000 subscribers. And from there, I just remember a lot of other people kind of in that space, starting to learn. I remember I went on the channel Reason and Theology, went back when it was Michael Lofton, Eric Ibarra, uh, uh, William Albrecht, some of these other guys. I remember doing a couple interviews with them very early on, and then it's just how it works. Just one thing leads to another, and I just kind of got further pulled into a lot of those conversations as well along the way. And I think there was just a real need for Protestants to
Yeah.
engage with that. I just think a lot of Protestants we are like low hanging fruit
Yeah.
to the other traditions because sometimes we don't study church history at all, and it
Yeah.
can be a real problem.
Yeah. Well, that. I think I agree with you about the Protestant presence on YouTube, which is really fascinating in America because, of course, Protestantism is the majority religious Christian expression in America. I mean, by far, if you take all of those Protestants and put them in one big bucket, and then even if you add some of the other groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons who are, and we can throw in my friend Sam, the Unitarian. I mean, it's massive, and the Catholics are big too, but it's a different thing. And so it is interesting to think about Protestantism and YouTube. Although I do think that, I mean, part of what we see happening now with the coming of the Orthodox is that there is, I think, in some ways, a Protestant spirit that is almost table stakes in America for participating in a religious conversation.
Hmm.
I don't mean that Protestant in terms of confessionally, but Protestant in terms of procedurally. It's There's something that happened in the Protestant Reformation that has, for the most part, simply made everyone at least a procedural Protestant in
Hmm.
this world, except in some deep places of tradition of other places. So
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.